Majority of this generation is guided by insecurities, right? How do you actually accept those insecurities and deal with it?
Man, I have everything stacked against me, is the view that you have at one point. And you realize that a lot of it, actually all of it is untrue. People are going to evaluate you for the quality of your work, not how you look. Beyond a point, it really does not matter. By not being with the masses, you are creating an edge. And that requires a certain amount of, I would say, discipline, a certain amount of conviction that you are on the reasonable path and you will do very well. And I have seen, unless and until that person decides to break from that, they are extremely successful in anything that they do. The challenge for this generation and for even the 14-year-olds who are starting to pick up the phones or starting to pick up is, how do you distill it?
Let's begin with the young minds, right? Today, my generation, also I have a little sister who is pretty much younger than me. We have 7-8 years of gap. So I also see her generation. Now, what I see is that people are moving towards extreme. Earlier, when in your generation, I think in my father's generation, everything was in moderation. Right now, it's moving towards extremes. Either young people are spiritual, they are vegetarian, like following certain set of rules. Either they are, hardcore party animal, smoking weed, cigarettes at younger age, right? So there is no moderation. The people who are in moderation are now slowly moving towards the extremes, right? So what's your take on it? That what is actually happening with this generation? Where are we moving as a whole? Like, what is this movement about?
So I think with every transformation that happens, I would say with each generation, and also I think with the pace of change. I'll give you an example. What has happened in the last 5 years is probably more than the 25 years before that. And what will happen in the next 5 years will be maybe 50 years before that. And sometimes what will happen in a year could be more than 10 years. So not only is the pace, not only the quantum of changing or growing, the pace of change is also growing. So the youngest generation, I would say in the 10 to 14 or 15, or even up to the 18, are in a phase where the amount of information that is available to them, not even I would say a fraction of a fraction was available to my generation, which is in the 40s. And almost none of it is available to my parents. Just imagine one TV channel that ran for a certain number of hours a day. So you technically watched maybe an hour of TV because that was all was available that you could watch. Because they had to put all national languages, all shows, everything. So whatever you want to watch will maybe be an hour. So even if you had the ability to watch or the time, it was not available. And you would have to go to a theater, a cinema theater as we call it, to watch a movie. And we've heard of movies that run 1 year and 2 years, etc. Just contrast that to if you take a Netflix or a Prime today or any OTT, the number of languages available in your language now, either dubbed or with subtitles, 24/7. And I'm not talking just Indian languages, Korean. So I have friends who have now completed the entire Korean soap opera series on Netflix of all shows. They're up to date. There are friends who are focused on Japanese serials now because they watched here, they're watching that. This kind of information and data and content is just incredible. And it's not only on the TV, it's available on your mobile now. So you can take it with you anywhere you go. The challenge you run with it is now retention. So you are now retaining one pinprick from everything. And I always say that negative energy travels faster than positive energy. Negative news, or what you call the slam news, those kind of shows are more popular because you want that uptick for that period of time. So now almost 90% of the information that is being consumed, and since the content is also tailored that way, how many people are actually killing others in broad daylight the way a hero takes out a gun, or how does the truck fly? But you do a realistic movie where two cars collide and they actually just collide. People are like, we don't want to see this, right? Because that's not, because so you've moved into a phase of reality that is not reality anymore. So you're holding that, add that to the number of shows, number of news channels, number of podcasts, Instagram reels, Facebook stories, etc., all of that. Add the number of opinions that people are offering on Twitter and everything. See, you don't actually have a view or a real view on anything. Everything is a surface level view of what you have heard in the last, I would say, a day. So I get into arguments with people where they say, well, X is bad, Y is good. So I say, name 3 reasons. It will just be a repeat of a tweet that they've read. I said, how do you know that the source of the tweet is right? Or how do you know that the source of the tweet is not right? So at that point, it's a full-blown argument, right? You're arguing for the sake of arguing. You don't know, you're just trying to fight. No, I'm trying to understand how you form the opinion. So the logicality of wanting to go behind the source to find out more about something is reducing. So the ones who are actually ending up doing a lot of real deep work are the ones who go in depth. So then you have this, to your point, the extremes where there are a number of knowledgeable people has also grown multifold because they know now, I know how to distill information. I have so much of it. I've formed a process to distill it. I know how to take out the data. And I know how to use that either for my studies or for work or for financial matters, etc. Right? And those are the people who end up doing better and better and better. The remainder of the crowd is, I would say, in this myopic way of the term that my children uses. It's so easy to trigger somebody now. You just have to say one sentence and it's triggered. Is that your real opinion? Is that where you stand? No, that's where I stand today. Today, I fundamentally like dogs. So I will assume that all dogs are good, which is not true. All people are not good. But I will have a full-blown argument on some things without knowing the details of the situation as well. So the challenge for this generation and for even the 14-year-olds who are starting to pick up the phones or starting to pick up is how do you distill it? So in my generation, the edge was the amount of knowledge. More knowledge you had, the better you were. That's why we always said, we are always study more, study more. Now it is the opposite. It is about the person who has the edge of distilling, who is able to actually find out what's going on. And it doesn't have to be about news. Let's say you are trying to get details about a stock. You go on Twitter or you go anywhere, any platform, and you say, tell me about a stock. You will have an equal number of lovers and haters. But what is your process for finding out that stock? Does it meet the criteria? Does it meet 8 out of 10 or 4 out of 10 or 2 out of 10? Most people don't want to do that. They want to take these borrowed opinions and form life decisions based on that. That's extremely dangerous. And it will result in a lot of people leaving good jobs, making poor financial decisions, making poor relationship decisions. right? And making a mess out of, they don't have to necessarily break them, but you're living life in a very semantic, just a short-term view. You let the day happen to you, because if two tweets can destroy your day or energize your day, I worry about the purpose of this person. So the issue is not about information availability, and it's only going to quadruple, quintuple. It's about how much can you possibly use and how much do you really need. The one who does not read the news is uninformed. The one who reads the news is misinformed. So what do you choose? That's the challenge, right? It's been quoted by many people. I have personally seen the more successful youngsters put timers. They have an Instagram timer, a social media timer, a screen time. So I will not spend more than an hour. I will never recommend, don't ever look at it. But most of them have timers. A lot of them actually read. And it doesn't have to be, when I say read, buy a hardcover book, which is my preferred. But a lot of them listen to podcasts. A lot of them listen to audiobooks. A lot of them actually read, or Kindle on the web or on a platform, etc. So I think that by not being with the masses, you are creating an edge. And that requires a certain amount of, I would say, discipline, a certain amount of conviction that you are on the reasonable path and you will do very well. And I have seen, unless and until that person decides to break from that, they are extremely successful in anything that they did. Extremely successful. The cricketer, we know a family friend whose son is a cricketer. He's saying, well, you will never get selected. You will never, selection is biased. South say nahi aayega. What do I want to do? I want to play cricket. I love to bat. And I'm going to be as good as possible. This kid was picked up in the IPL. He's now got, he has his career ahead of him. But so many other batchmates of his who are actually better than him were trying to massage all those other aspects, which eventually led to the quality of their cricketing drop. So finally, you're going to pick someone for their performance. You're not going to pick somebody because he or she can talk well or dress well on the pitch, right? Even if they've been picked that way, what gets you further is your runs or your wickets or your fielding. Most people miss that. They miss the forest for the trees. You miss the big picture. And that's the part where I tell my children always, tell me what you do. Tell me how you want to go about it. Tell me what you like right now. Chances are I've tried it, I've done that. But remain focused, don't get distracted. Don't ever do something because A is doing it or B is doing it. B, do it because you want to do it. Or don't not do something because somebody doesn't want to do it. I see that a lot. So I think that distilling is the superpower. It was knowledge, superpower, now it's distilling is the superpower. The other aspect which I think my generation is struggling with, the next generation is struggling with even more. And I know that the 14-year-olds onwards are going to struggle with the most, is health. So in our academy, we actually bunch the callers by age group. 25 to 40, 40 to 60, 60 plus and below 25. The 40 to 60 and the 60 plus are all talking about how to improve their health. I'm exercising 1 hour a day. What else can I do? I'm doing pranayama. Can I do asana? I'm doing asana and pranayama. Can I do meditation? So they are talking about enhancement. The 25 to 40, which shocked us, depression, heart attack, breakup, job loss, no money, can't get married, overweight, all that you would expect in the next age group are all in the 25 to 40. Below 25, it's straight up only one: depression and no sleep. No sleep, can't sleep, totally depressed. Only two. Those are the only repeated things that come to us. Anybody below 25, we don't even ask, why do you want to join? They say, we want meditation, can't sleep. Totally burnt out. We got a student from BITS. Says, all my peers are studying 12 hours a day. I'm not able to study 12. So because of that, I'm not able to sleep. Because of that, I'm depressed. Because of that, I won't have a career. I won't get married, blah, 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 blah. They want meditation. Below 25, though, no positive requests coming in. It's scary. It's absolutely scary. So what we tell people is, trust me, it's okay to be a little slow. What do you want to do? You want to feel better? Please put the phone down. Sit with us for an hour. We can tell you what to eat, because we have an Ayurveda doctor on board. We can tell you what to eat, how to monitor your diet, how to plan your day. Try that. 3 or 4 of them have, that's why I'm saying, to your point, the sincere, super sincere. So once they see the benefits, they are on it. The others are all looking at, I've got myself to this point, but I do need resolution within 2 days. I want to feel better in 2 days. Which is why they go to things that give them that high for a period of time, whether it is alcohol or weed or anything like that. These are all momentary. They will have to form some kind of a base. And it could be going to the gym or getting a routine, etc. But what shocks us is anybody below 25 is not coming to us for health. Only coming to cure.
So it's like you do anything either out of love or out of fear. So majority of people below 25 are coming up because of fear.
It's all fear-based. It's all fear-based. And it is actually, most of it is not self-inflicted.
So someone
has actually, I'll tell you, I have friends, all my friends have kids in college. I cannot, if I take a count of 50 friends, I would say about 3 of them are driving their kids to depression. They're saying, you have to get into Harvard. You have to get into the Ivy Leagues. You have to be at the top of the class. I was at the top of my class, so you have to do that. The remaining 47 or 45 are, boss, do whatever you want. 70% is fine. Go study, go to whichever college you want. You want to go abroad, I'll fund it. You want to be here, I'll fund it. You want to do a few other electives, I'll fund it. You want to learn guitar, I'll fund it. Please do whatever you want. Most of their kids who have these kind of symptoms is only because of peer pressure. I have family who want to study the chartered accountancy, right? I'm accounting by training. So a lot of them come to me for advice. So they finished the 12th. In chartered accountancy, you have this thing called the foundation, where you can start preparing for the CA right out of school. So I have a friend whose daughter who's just completing her schooling, and she's studying accounting. She's come to me for advice. She wants to study this course called the foundation, which technically you can start studying for the CA right out of high school. And her reason for doing it is because all her friends are doing it. So my suggestion was, she's actually quite good in a few other things, in singing and in sports. So I said, enjoy your bachelor time. Spend more time adding to these talents that you have. And then anyway, do the CA at 21 instead of at 18. No. By the time my friends will be ahead and they would have done this and they would have. So the peer pressure or the need to compare yourself is ingrained so young. that for us to forge a path that is not done by the others itself is considered incorrect. So my suggestion to her is, don't do that because your friends are doing it. If you really want to do it, please go ahead. She's like, no, they're all doing, so I think, yeah, I'll miss out. So the FOMO effect of needing to do something because others are doing, I think that's a real challenge that we as elders, I feel, have the responsibility to explain to them. I always ask anybody who comes for advice, I ask them to take the slower route. Don't worry. Don't worry. Don't worry. It'll be fine. Because when you start getting those double and triple promotions, you will overtake whoever you thought was your comparison. It'll go away. So that's another challenge, the peer pressure of needing to do something because peers are doing it. Whether we want to do it or not is technically a secondary choice. I don't think it should be brought into, you can wear similar clothing, you can do similar things, but you cannot take study decisions and life decisions based on that. I think that's a big mistake.
Then, no, as a teenager, as a young person who is exploring that, we all have insecurities. And I think majority of this generation is guided by insecurities, right? At the point where you said that the CA foundation course, right? If we see everything, the base is always insecurity. Then how do you actually accept those insecurities and deal with it? Does any specific practices are there which help, accepting the fact of, not comparing, accepting that, okay, this might be my insecurity rather than my choice of doing it. No, what's the formula there?
See, I think at that age, it's very difficult to convince someone that it is driven by insecurity than by reality. Because the first answer that you're going to get back is, obviously I'm insecure. That's why I'm trying to do all of this. It's not like they don't accept it. They accept it wholeheartedly. The challenge really is, what do you learn and what do you teach that allows them to deal with that? For me, I don't want to say I was successful, but I was able to deal with it by a certain age, which I think was sooner than most people. So I had the classic insecurities. I was not tall enough. I was losing my hair. So obviously this thing is, you're never going to get married. And, nobody will be attracted to you. And then nobody promotes bald people, etc., etc. All kinds of things that come into play, right? So you're like, man, I have everything stacked against me, is the view that you have at one point. And you realize that a lot of it, actually all of it is untrue. People are going to evaluate you for the quality of your work, not how you look. Beyond a point, it really does not matter. For me, I think sport was a big leveler. We played tennis at a national level, so we learned failure early on. I think sport is a great leveler. You learn failure and how to bounce back from that. I think having some kind of a personal practice, and I'll give you examples of what I call personal practice. Running on your own tells you test your limits. You know some days you can't run as much. You're bloated. You're tired, but you still push yourself. Doing a yoga practice. Doing a meditative practice. Finding time with, and if you have that religious bent early on, I would say finding time with few minutes, 10, 15, 20 minutes a day is extremely powerful. But most importantly, I think having the discipline to say, I've chosen this path and I want to stick with it, no matter what people tell you, is important. I think people take career choices. My son has a friend who wants to be a YouTuber. So obviously the parents are freaking out, right? So, but at some point you have to acknowledge that I am going to college, but I'm going to try and do something similar to how you guys are doing it. Some practices to be with yourself and accept yourself. So the person who has to accept you, firstly, for who you are is guess who? It's yourself. So these things kind of start putting you on that path. Sport is a great leveler. The gym is a great leveler. Personally, for me, I found it later. Meditation was an incredible leveler. Gives you an absolute calmness, what I call resolving who you are. Okay, I am this way. I am going to look this way. I am going to speak this way. I have these traits and habits that are mostly good. I don't cause harm. I don't think bad. I want to work hard. So you start stacking up the pieces of your personality, and then you realize, as with most people, 9 out of 10 or 8 out of 10 are actually good. And then once you get that confidence, you start taking actions that are a little bit more permeative of that. Usually what happens is that when you go through this process, and we've talked about this before, you will gravitate towards a teacher. You will gravitate towards a mentor. And like I said, the power of your intensity and your keenness to be able to further that, it may sound cinematic, but trust me, you will get a mentor in front of you who will guide you to take that next step. I found a mentor when I was 27 in corporate life. He was the first one to tell me, you can become a CFO. I was a regular financial analyst. He saw something in me which I didn't. And when I became a CFO, he was the first person I called. And he said, well, of course I knew it. I predicted it. I think you can become a CEO. So he confused me on my first day of a job as a CFO. So I just got the job. I said, yeah, eventually I think you'll be the CEO as well. So there are people who will come to elevate you. And those people come into your life, in my view, depending on how focused you are. So these things bring focus. A practice of meditation, a practice of faith, a practice of discipline, be it sport or some of those. They start accumulating over time, that your mind is now focused on what others think and what I should do, how I compare with A, B, C, D, E, E, F. You start focusing this way. And that's what we call the ekagrata mind, the one-pointed mind. Then it's no stopping. I'll give you the example of Novak Djokovic, right? When he came in, he was good. He was pretty good. But no one compared him to Roger Federer or Rafael Nadal or even others who had won lesser Grand Slams. As he was winning 1, 2, 3, 4, they said, oh, well, he's good, but he's not 20. He's good, but he's not 15. Then you realize that was what was fueling him. The criticism that he will not achieve it was what was fueling him. So he's so far ahead now, right? Unimaginable count of Grand Slams and tournament wins. Now everybody is flocking behind him saying, how did you do it? He said, my fuel was all the non-believers fueled it. So since I had so many non-believers, I had so much fuel. I have to prove everyone wrong and prove myself right. So it's like you almost have to succeed because you want your haters to feel bad. Like some people actually do that. That's not how we are propagating it. But believe in yourself, and I think there is a lot we actually have within each of us that is powerful enough for us to move forward. Everyone is extremely unique. It's just that over a period of time you have to, I don't know if you've heard this deaf frog story. It was actually narrated by Rajinikanth at an event. There's a hill. It's surrounded by frogs. They're saying we have to climb the hill. This hill is, say, maybe 50 feet or something. So the first frog goes up 10 feet, falls down. Because all the frogs are like, no, you can't climb. The second frog goes up 20, 25, half the way up, and then falls down. The third frog goes all the way up. So everyone is like, what the hell? Like, didn't you hear? We were all saying the frog is deaf. So sometimes in order for you to succeed, you have to be deaf to a lot of opinions. And many a time it could be people around you. If you know the goal and you want to go ahead, sometimes that is itself a virtue.